Oh, of course. No, I've been really looking forward to this.
Mm. So how is your morning like?
My morning so far is going really well. I
Mm-hmm.
woke up about an hour ago, so which is 7 o'clock New York time. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of people, they mention they wake up super early and do all this like work for trading and like studying the charts. I don't wake up that early because you don't necessarily have to. I feel like, if you prep the night before a little bit, have a general idea of what you want to do, you don't have to put that much time and effort into it. And I really don't, as far as trading goes. But yeah, no, my morning's going good so far. I'll have breakfast once you and I get finished talking, and then market opens at 8:30, and I'll do a little bit of trading, and then I'll head off to some waterfalls.
Okay, so we have like 30 minutes before you start your trading.
Oh no, no, I have 90 minutes, so plenty of time.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah.
like what's your morning routine like? Do you work out? Do you like what do you normally do after you wake up?
It's a very good question. I normally do some form of workout if I can. Tomorrow I'll be doing some yoga. I do hot yoga on Wednesdays, and tomorrow's Wednesday, so I'll be doing some hot yoga, which is like the Bikram yoga, which is they just heat the room and everyone does yoga. So I do that ever so often. I try to work out, but really I just try to awake and be in a moment in the presence of gratitude. Think about things I'm grateful for, really think about things I respect and I appreciate, and I just kind of browse over the markets. I usually don't have breakfast until after the market opens because I want to just trade with a clear head. I don't drink coffee. I do drink a lot of water, so I don't have any um, I want to make sure that nothing's going on, just nice and clean, just waking up. And most of my workouts usually start in the afternoon, the really heavy ones at least.
Mm, okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
I start my morning by running. It wakes me up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me
Yeah.
just do your bio first and then we can get to the questions.
Okay. Sounds great.
Okay. Jeremy Alexander Newsome is the CEO and co-founder of reallifetrading.com. He has one of the fastest growing audiences and websites on the internet and attacks the markets with an energy, exuberance, and humor that is truly refreshing. He has been professionally trading the stock market since he was 21 years old. Jeremy specializes in candlesticks, gaps, credit spreads, day and swing trading. So, welcome to the interview.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I don't know how old you are, but given that you started trading at 21 years of age, my first question would be what prompted your interest in the financial markets and why is trading important for you?
It's a very good question. I appreciate you asking. I'm 31 right now, actually. So I've been doing this right around 10 or 11 years. And the first immediate thing that interests me into the markets. Have you ever seen the movie Forrest Gump, Sylvia?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay. So Forrest Gump, at the end of it, when he's like recounting his life and he's thinking about all of his experiences. At one point, he mentions that Lieutenant Dan invested in a fruit company and they didn't have to worry about money anymore. Well, when I heard this, I was very poor at the time financially. And I asked my dad what investing was, and I asked him what the fruit company was. And he went on to tell me about Apple computers. And he told me about the stock market and told me what investing is. So I told him, you should do this. We should invest in Apple. We should be exactly like Forrest and do what Forrest Gump did. And so he didn't really have a lot of money at the time. This was when I was 6 years old. So this was a long time ago, back in 1994. And Bottom line, we invested in Apple in 1994. I ended up begging him to do it. You know, he didn't have a lot of money at the time, so I raised the money by picking blackberries, you know, like the berries from the bush. So I picked the little berries and sold them door to door, and I raised $1,300. And you know, that's that summer. So he eventually matched me, and put in on his own $1,300, and we bought some shares of Apple in 1994. And we sold them when I was 12, which was 2000, so right at the top of the tech bubble. And I had made, you know, like $12,000 as a 12-year-old, which is like all the money in the world at the time. You know, you can't even comprehend how much money that was. I was just so excited. So that was it. You know, once I received that money, that was all I ever wanted to do. I just wanted to trade. I wanted to use the markets. I wanted to use this understanding of how the markets work to hopefully, you know, carve out some type of financial freedom.
Okay, and because how did you like choose to be as to trade the stocks? To have like, because when you're trading stocks, then you own shares in, you become an owner in the companies that you invest in. And at the time, like, was that the main idea behind investing then, and the only one that you chose to gravitate towards?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because a lot of people do ask me like the distinction between how I got started in stocks versus, you know, let's say Forex or futures or commodities. And that was really it. I mean, you're exactly right, Sylvia. I just kind of understood at a young age, you know, like once my dad explained it, it just made tons of sense. Like when you own a stock, you're literally investing in a company, right? You have shares, you have ownership of this company. So your goal is to understand and to appropriate your money somewhere that makes sense to you based on what a company is doing, what the leadership is doing, what they're building, you know, how they're treating the world, and you can directly have an impact and an ownership in that. And that just always made sense to me. Plus, all of the really rich people that I've always known or looked up to have been stock investors to some degree. You know, Warren Buffett, Jesse Livermore, Bill Gates. You know, although Bill Gates did a lot of his wealth from building Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft was a publicly traded company, and he had shares, you know, of Microsoft. So that's what really helped him become massively wealthy, was that ownership. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It was just the concept of that ownership, that I, little old me, could own part of this massive company and benefit from their growth was just exciting.
Okay. And so, like, now from the point of you starting to be an independent trader, from 21 years, 10 years now into the game, how has your journey been to now you own your own trading company? How has that journey been like since you started?
Yeah, it's a great question. Oh man, it's riddled with a lot of challenges and a lot of failures, and just not having any kind of fear of giving up. I mean, that's realistically in any, you know, there's a statistic that a lot of people throw around, Sylvia, that they say like 95% of traders fail. And
Mm-hmm.
I think 95% of people fail at anything. You know, it doesn't matter what they do. Like if you're trying to start a business, 95% of people fail at that. If you try to open up your own restaurant, 95% of people fail at that. If you try to become a professional athlete or an Olympian, you know, 99.999% of people fail at that. So success in general is just really hard. It doesn't really matter what it is that you're doing. You know, success it's just a challenge, you know, and it's something that we have to focus on. So for me, trading full time became apparent when I worked at a company called Nationwide Insurance. And I actually still talk very nicely about Nationwide Insurance. I like my time there. I still regularly email and chat with a gentleman by the name of Mike Garris, who was like the associate vice president at the time of my department. great guy. And one of the supervisors named Robin Gwynn, I called him Rob. He was one of the guys who told me more about the stock market, right? He really, really threw me into this journey. So at one particular point, I'll tell you a quick story, Sylvia.
Okay.
The way it really happened was I was working at a company and I was in charge of paying bills to customers. And I was looking over the last 2 years, and the lady who works before me paid out like $1.5 million in claims, right? I worked at high-end automobile claims. That was kind of my specialty. So she paid out 1.5 million over like 2 or 3 years that she had been in the job. And at the time I had been in this position, I had only paid out like 250,000. So I did some quick math and I'm like, man, if I end the year paying $500,000, that means I saved the company $1 million. Because last year she paid 1.5, the year before she paid 1.3, the year before she paid 1.4 million, and I'm here paying 500,000. I'm obviously doing my job very well. So I asked the company, can I get some of that savings? That seems fair to me. Like if I save the company $1 million, I should get like at least 1% of that, 10% of that, something. And guess what they told
Yeah.
me?
Like a commission sort of from your
Yeah,
savings.
exactly. Guess what they told me?
Mm-hmm.
They said no. And they're like, no way, we can't do that. This is your job. You're supposed to do this. I was like, that doesn't seem reasonable. So once they told me that, that was one of the times, one of the instances that I knew that corporate work, working in a cubicle, working for someone else, spending your time to make money was not the greatest use of my time. So I started trading. That's when I started trading through my 401k, which is like a savings program in the US. We have a 401k, we put money into it. And so I started trading through
That's for
that.
like your retirement?
Exactly. Yep, you're exactly right. So I started trading through that at the age of 2021. And I got lucky. But, one of the very first months that I did that, I made $3,000, and that was more money than I made at work. I think at the time I was getting paid like $1,100 a paycheck or something. So I made $3,000 in a month from pressing buttons, and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is all I want to do. Like I'm just going to do this for forever. And so then the transition was, since you kind of asked, the transition was a lot of people want to go from working full time to trading. And they're always like, all right, well, how did you do it? And at the moment that I knew that the money was available, that like I could actually make enough money to live off of trading, once I knew the math, I then found another job that allowed me to trade, to work very flexible hours so that I could trade full time and still work full time. And I just did both for about 2 years. So I worked full time, right? I had a job, I was doing sales, I was making money there. And then I also traded full time, like full time meaning like 7, 8 hours a day. I was in front of the charts, trading and studying and visualizing. And so I did that for 2 years. And then once I realized that I could do this full time, and once I realized that there was a need for other people to learn how to kind of quit their job and do this full time, I created real life trading so that I could teach people from all around the world how to kind of do what I did and do it for free. And that was something that I felt would be a big impact for the world.
Okay, and let's go back a little bit to how you got your training or how you got the trading skill. Like, did you teach yourself or did your friend from the insurance company give you some basic skills into what you are supposed to do to make money off trading?
Yep,
Like,
that's a
did you
great
have a mentor or you did it by self-taught methods?
It's a great question, and the answer is both. And it probably always is some degree of both for most people. like you always want to have a mentor, and I'll tell you more about that. But Rob, that was the guy that you're mentioning. He was the guy who really put me on this journey, and I was supposed to go to his desk for like a employee review kind of thing, where they review your product, your process, your progress, or whatever. And he was one of my bosses at the time. And um, bottom line, I show up to this review, and on his screen, you can tell is something to do with the stock market. I don't know anything about the stock market, but most people kind of know if they look at something, they can go, yeah, that is some type of stock market thing. I don't know what it is, but it looks interesting, and I want to learn it. And in that session, I said, hey, Rob, dude, you can give me whatever scores you want in this review. I want to learn what's on your screen. So in that hour, he taught me a strategy that's called covered calls, and that's usually where like you can buy stock and you can actually rent out your stock to somebody else. Is kind of the way it works. And once he told me the strategy, I got it. I understood it. I fully comprehended it, and I went on to use that single strategy for the next 5 or 6 months to make a lot of money trading. And then I started realizing how much information is out there, and I just went down a massive rabbit hole. So you're talking about self-taught. So I went through every trading course that was on the internet at the time. There wasn't many, but there was probably about 7 or 8, and I bought all of them. I maxed out my credit cards. I went through every single trading course that was on the internet at the time. I watched thousands of hours of videos on YouTube. I read books from the library. It was one of those things when people say that you're, be obsessed or be average. I was
Yeah.
obsessed. I
So you basically
fell
put
into it.
in the 10,000 hours.
That's right. That's right. I put in the 10,000 hours, and 10,000 hours. A lot of people say it's 40 hours a week, but I still worked full time. I worked 40 hours a week, but the funny thing is, a lot of people forget how much time is still left. Like let's say you work 40 hours a week, and let's how many hours are in a week? What do we got? 7 times
Times
24.
24.
So what number is that? That's 168. So
Yeah.
let's say you work 40 hours a week. So okay, that's 128. And let's say that you sleep 8 hours a day.
Or
And
6 to 7.
yeah, well, let's just say 8. Let's say someone sleeps 8 hours a day
Okay.
times 7. If you're doing that, let's see, that is bang, bang, bang. I'm doing it on the
56.
calculator real quick. Yeah, you're exactly right. So if you got
56.
56 hours left, if you sleep 8 hours a day and if you work 40 hours a week, you got 56 hours. So that means that you can use 56 hours sleeping and working, and you can dedicate so much time to something else that you want to care about. And like you're mentioning, Sylvia, you did the math. I didn't sleep 8 hours a day. I slept like 5 or 6, and I used all that extra time to study the stock market and kind of be in front of it. And one of the most useful things, a lot of people ask me, like, what was the thing that helped me a lot? I had this program, Sylvia, that was called Trade Navigator, and I downloaded it and used their software to go back in time, and I traded the Dow Jones since its inception, which is like late 1800s, and I went day by day using using only candlesticks and support and resistance that I drew by hand. That was it. That was my whole process. And I did that process for 7 hours every single day for 7 months. And
Wow.
that's what just revolutionized my trading, because if you do that, you're able to trade. I mean, think about it. You get to trade the Great Depression. You get to trade World War I. You get to trade World War II, Vietnam, the Cold War. I mean, the Kennedy assassination. You get to trade 9/11. There's so much wildness out there. I mean, you get to trade the tech bubble. You can trade 1987. There's so much history in the stock market, and you get to be a part of that. That
As well as
was
the Asian history, like Asian crisis as well.
Yes, you're exactly right. So there's just so much that you can use and so much history that you can be a part of. I loved it.
And so now that you've mentioned the trading process and how you started, like on your bio, you specialize in candlesticks, gaps, credit spreads, day and swing trading. Our audience might have an idea of what day and swing trading styles, what that is all about. But maybe for those who have completely no idea about what kind of gaps or the types of gaps you trade, maybe you can explain that as well as the credit spreads.
Yeah, totally. I can do that. So I'll do gaps first because they're pretty easy.
Okay.
So a gap is when a security changes price from one time to another time, and this can absolutely happen in forex. A lot of people are like, I know a lot of your audience is probably forex traders, but
Yeah.
a lot of people are like, oh, well, forex never gaps. That's untrue. I was looking at a currency pair just the other day. It was the Great British Pound Japanese Yen, so GBPJPY, and from May 3rd to May 6th, it had a gap. And I don't know if you have a chart in front of you, but you can check it out. So May 3rd, this currency pair closed at 146.357. Right, that was the close, 146.357. The next trading session on May the 6th, it opened at 145.394. So you're talking about an entire point difference. So the question that has to be asked is, how do you think the people feel who bought on May 3rd, who bought at 146, when the next day it's opening at 145.3? It's like they feel scared, right?
Yeah.
They're mad, they're worried, they're losing a lot of money just randomly. They don't know why they're losing this money, and they're scared. They freak out. They start selling, and that selling creates a gap in price. And if you can visualize that gap, you can get a distinction and an understanding of what this currency pair is about to do. So same thing happened on May the 10th to May the 13th on the exact same currency pair, right? Japanese yen. At this point, the Japanese yen, British pound have been selling off massively. May the 10th, you had a bullish day. And it closed at 142.92, and then the next day it opened at 142.66. So you had about 30 cents on the Japanese yen British pound. That was a 30-cent gap. And again, everyone who had bought the previous day was trapped, right? They're losing money. They're scared. So gaps are literally a sentiment that you can visually look at on a chart, on a candlestick chart, and you can see how people are feeling and why they're feeling that way. And when you notice that, when you can visualize that, you can at that point in time dictate what direction you should take the trade in.
Okay. So for you, how do you read that sentiment so that you're able to place your trades?
So really, it came from experience. Like it came from being the person that was in that trade and trying to figure out and determine what was happening overnight. It literally came from just studying it and trying to figure out why I was losing money on a particular trade. And over time, over just asking the right questions, like, why am I losing money? Why did this happen? What is the chart telling me? Why did this occur? Is there anything I could have learned from? asking questions like that helped me kind of just answer my own question of looking at the chart and being able to see it. So normally I start with a daily chart, Sylvia, when I'm doing my analysis. I'll look at a daily time frame to see if there's any gaps that occurred on a daily level. And these gaps will happen, like I said, in any instrument. They happen other than cryptocurrencies, which they don't really happen very much in cryptos. They do happen in Forex. They do happen in futures. They do happen in commodities, and they definitely happen in stocks, right? You get gaps all the time in the stock market.
Okay.
And now a credit spread, since you're asking about that, credit spread is a little bit more of an advanced technique. And a credit spread is when you can make money in the stock market by selling something that you don't actually own at all. And you do that by trading options. So in the stock market world, you have what's called a stock option. And a stock option is an insurance contract. It's literally what it is. So you're trading insurance. And as you know, I have a little bit of a background in insurance. So I know how to sell insurance. I know what it's for. I know how to use it. And a credit spread is literally the ability to sell stock insurance to somebody else on a position that you don't think is going to go a certain direction. And you can make money on these trades. Like you can make really good returns too, like 20% returns over the course of a few weeks or months. You can make 20% return to figure out what the stock is not going to do. So a lot of people have a hard time looking at a stock and knowing what it's going to do. But most people can look at a chart and go, yeah, I don't think this is going to happen. And if you can go and get some money to determine that that thing is not going to happen, then you can do quite well, actually, on those trades. So that's really kind of what a credit spread is at the most basic essence.
Right. And so for you're a speculator, that's what you are as a trader. What happens when you have a different view from what the market gives you, and then you end up, not making money?
It's a really good question. So when you take a trade, what we have to realize is that the market is always right. That's one thing that we have to keep in mind is, so you're right, we're speculators to the highest degree. We think something specific about the market and therefore we act on it. So we have to realize that the market is always right and we as investors or speculators are always wrong. Regardless of what the outcome of the trade is, we're always wrong. Most people approach the market for two reasons. They want to be right and they want to make money. Once you realize that neither one of those things should be your focus ever, it makes your life a little bit simpler when you are an investor or when you're a speculator, because if the market is always right and you are always wrong, it doesn't specifically matter if you take a trade and make money because you were always wrong anyway. So if you go into every trade kind of with a pessimistic viewpoint almost, even though I'm actually an optimist at heart, for sure, I have a very pessimistic viewpoint when I trade. Every time I trade on anything, I automatically imagine that I'm going to be wrong on the trade anyway. So if I am wrong and I lose money, I was right. And if the trade works, I was right. So I actually have the ability psychologically to be accurately correct, and it helps my brain, right? It helps it helps the ego of the human to say, hey, I was correct. I did something right. That's fantastic. So that's really the goal, is just to always have this relationship with our mind and with the market, to understand that it doesn't matter what we think. The market's going to do what the market wants. And I'm here to simply lose as small as I can on any given trade.
Okay. And so for the years that you've started the company, that real life trading, you have a trading room. Is that where you like share your live trades and then you like train people as well? Or what's the purpose of your trading room? And what do you look for when someone comes to you for, say, mentorship?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So you're absolutely right. I mean, the trading room is exactly that. Um, it's a place where we learn together, and people can watch me trade. That is correct. Looking at and discussing and openly talking about why I'm taking a certain trade, what my thoughts on that trade are, why I'm getting into it, where I'm getting out, where I'm getting in, and just being able to visually identify why someone is doing something. The other purpose, realistically, is just from a community standpoint. So, a community standpoint, the trading room is very valuable and beneficial to me because you have people like yourself from all over the world with all kinds of different viewpoints and opinions and backgrounds and upbringings. Everyone's coming together, and we're all able to discuss something simultaneously at the same time on planet Earth is kind of amazing. So having that support and being around like-minded people who care about other human beings, who want to see, the growth in the world, who are excited about just who are excited about love and happiness and helping and enriching the lives of others is truly beneficial to me. So that's the reason I do the trading room is as an accountability tool is how it started. Me and like 10 other people just started trading together at one point in time, and it was a way for me to hold them accountable and for them to hold me accountable. Because if someone like let's say you have a job and you have a boss, that boss is going to fire you if you do something wrong. Well, that's the way we should have it when we trade is there needs to be some sort of punishment if you just go out and randomly break your trading rules, whatever those rules might be.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that you all have, does it mean that you all have like the same strategy or the same way that you approach the markets? Or you allow for people to come in with different styles, but at the
Oh
end of
yeah.
the day, as long as you're making money.
Bingo. Yeah, bingo. Everyone's going to have different styles, and that's what's amazing about the stock market. There's so many things that are amazing about the stock market, but one of them is the simple fact that everyone has a different style is kind of incredible because it's truly abundant. I mean, everybody. I mean, you talked about mentorship. So I have worked with people, numerous people of all ages. Yeah, the youngest person I think I've worked with in person who actually came to Nashville was like he was like 20, 27, 28 years old. And then, I've worked with gentlemen and ladies over the age of 60, numerous times. But the thing that is most intriguing is once I teach someone something from my experience, and once I kind of guide them and allow them to see their own hurdles and their own challenges, at some point, they will totally go out and create their own style of art. I'll give you an example. So I have a really beautiful gentleman who I just love and adore so much. His name is Charles March, and he lives in Baltimore, Maryland. And him and I have worked together numerous times. He's come to pretty much every event that I've ever done, ever. He's always there. We chat, we text pretty frequently. And I have this style, right? He has this trading style that is very similar to mine. But what he did is he went out and focused on trading very, very boring companies. So he picks utility companies. So utility companies like water and electric. So he picks utility companies and just trades those. And that was a strategy that I never mentioned. Like I never told him in his entire life, hey man, you should just go and trade utility companies. But he learned at some point in time when I mentioned, the market rewards the specialist to go in and become a specialist at something. And he's now started making really, really good money trading and focusing on just utilities.
Okay. So that's very good to have like a diverse team and a community of traders, because when you're trading by yourself, it gets lonely. You get lonely because it's just you and the screen.
Yeah, it really does. What's your specialty and focus, Sylvia? What do you like to trade?
I do FX, basically currencies, but I'm more of a long-term trader, swing trader.
Nice. Gotcha. So
Yeah.
how long will you normally hold a swing trade for on a currency pair?
I would like 3 to a week, 3 days mostly, to
Mm-hmm.
say, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Forex is one thing that I can analyze Forex, but I don't trade it. I've never traded it. No, for no other particular reason than I just can't be in everything. But I think that's just an excuse. And I think in the next year I'm gonna start trading Forex, and just learn it and study it, because why not? Money,
Yeah,
money,
plus,
money grows on trees, right? So we have the
yeah,
ability to learn it and trade it. Why not?
plus I think with FX it's good because you can start with little capital. As the stock market, you have to be well capitalized, in my opinion, to, live off your trading accounts. But with FX, you can grow your capital slowly as you go by.
Yeah, you're definitely correct about that. And you mentioned a very key word: to live off of your account. So yeah, you're absolutely right. In order to live off your account, you are going to need a pretty sizable account, and I would argue for just about any account, realistically. But it does depend also on your lifestyle. The whole live below your means thing. I did that for a very long time, and I still do that to an extent. I think it's an interesting phrase. Live below your means. I think it's one that needs to be explored, because I want to live above my means. I want to live in a world where abundance is everywhere. I want to live in a place where I don't have to shrink back. I don't want to shrink back my skills. I don't want to shrink back my income. I don't want to shrink back anything. I just want to grow, grow, grow. And I think we have the ability to do that. It's just in our minds, and it requires a certain set of discipline in a certain period of time where we have to do that. And I think you're totally right. In order to live off of an account in really any market, if it's Forex, if it's cryptos, if it is stock market, there needs to be a certain level of humility towards the market, and a certain level of time and patience that you spend carving out your trading skills and abilities, and eventually your profits.
Yeah, totally agree. Now, when you're mentoring the people that you work with, what would you say makes up a successful trader, especially in regards to their perception towards risk?
Oh, that's a very specific question. I like it. Um, well, I want the people that I've noticed that I work best with, they do have the knowledge and the understanding that they don't want to lose it all, because that's dumb, right? To just lose all of your money. But they also have the understanding, and they need to have the understanding, that money is meaningless. And money is whatever meaning that you give it as a person. So if you give money all of your time and all of your attention and all of your focus, and all you do is care about your money, then you have to, at some point in time, be understanding that you have to let it go, right? You have to have an open hand when it comes to money. You have to let it flow in and out. So you have to be in a situation where you're totally comfortable with letting money go and letting money come back into your life, having this ebb and having this flow. Because if you're just trying to control it and keep it, and you never want to lose any of it, then you're not going to grow it very, very well. You want to have the understanding and the mindset that when you lose on a trade, you're actually giving money to somebody else. That's what I do. So when I take a trade, and if I ever trade Forex, Sylvia, I will pretend that if I lose on that trade, I'm going to give you some money because it'll help me, right? Because in my mind, if I can visually see somebody and say, you know what? Sylvia today outplayed me on this currency pair. She's better than I am. I'm going to give her my money today. And then maybe
Yeah.
tomorrow, I'm going to take it from a big bank or from a fund or something. That
Yeah.
helps me almost like in a Robin Hood mentality where it's like, I'm taking from the banks and I'm just giving it to other people. It makes me feel better about the market and trading if I'm losing money, but I know I'm giving it to someone else, because that's really what you're doing. You're circulating currency and you're just exchanging wealth. The stock market's a great exchange of wealth, or currencies, or any type of trading is a great exchange of wealth. So that's a phenomenal question. I mean, the mindset of money is absolutely paramount. I wrote a book on it. If you ever get a chance to check it out, Sylvia, I think you'll like it a lot. It's called Money Grows on Trees. And it's just,
Oh, really? I didn't know you were an author.
yeah, well, this is a recent thing. It's still very new to be called an author, but yeah, I did take the time to write a book, and I spent a lot of my energy on this, and I think that people really enjoy it because it's a book about the mindset of money. There's a lot of people have this phrase that the markets, Forex and the stock market, any market is controlled by fear and greed. And I don't totally believe that. I think it's controlled by other forces. So it's just something that it's all about your mindset, like as you mentioned, as it relates to money. That's all we have is our mindset.
Yeah, and when you were talking about the traits that, how you look, your perception towards the market, you mentioned something about your ego and the fact that you're an optimist, but you go in, to the markets with a pessimistic sort of attitude. Can you tell us how your journey as a trader, how that has shaped other traits in your life and how you react to situations today?
Man, that's a good question. That's a deep one. I could probably talk like 9 hours about that. But I would say this: to become a profitable trader, you need to become a profitable person. And in all essence, trading is about becoming the person that you need to become in order to trade successfully. So saying all of those philosophical terms, here's really what it means. If we want to become a profitable trader, that is likely something that most people have never done, right? The vast majority of people out there have never consistently profitably traded the market over a span of time. So what we have to do then is we have to answer this question. If I have not traded the market profitably over a span of time, and in order to achieve something that I've never achieved, I have to do things that I've never done. So what we have to do at that point in time is figure out what are things that we've never done before, and then go do those things to become a better version of ourselves. So kind of like you're mentioning the whole patience thing. Um, the pessimistic viewpoint and how it shapes and alters my life. You have to go through a certain journey of understanding your skills and your weaknesses. So in traffic, I don't have any I don't have any what's it called? I don't get mad in traffic,
Station.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. I don't have that. Like, I just sit in traffic. I don't like to be in traffic. It's not something that I prefer. I know that about myself. I don't get road rage. Like, I'm driving, I'm like a monk, man. I just sit there and I'm like, whatever. I just let the whole world come in and do its thing, and I don't really care because I don't really have any control over other people. I just have to make sure that I don't get in an accident. All right, that's my main focus. And when I'm around other people, I know when it's an appropriate time to listen, and I try to do my absolute best to know when it's an appropriate time to speak. and how long I should speak for. And that has also been derived from just your personality as it relates to trading. There's so many things that trading will do for you as you grow as a trader. It'll make you more patient. It'll make you more disciplined. It'll make you more focused on money and time management. It'll make you a great multitasker, and it'll make you the hit at parties because everyone wants to talk to a day trader, and everyone's like, oh, so you're just a gambler, and you get to explain to people, you get to open people's eyes that it's not gambling, as long as you know how much you are risking. That's what I love about the markets. You could put in your entire life savings on a trade, and if the trade's not working out, you can take your life savings out and maybe you lose a little bit of money. All right, you give that money to somebody else. But in gambling, like if you took your life savings and went to a casino and put all of your money on red on a roulette table and it hit black, your money's gone. So that's the difference between gambling and trading, is you can literally put every single dime that you own onto a trade. And if it works, great. But if it doesn't work, great. You lose some money, you give it to somebody else, and you move on. So yeah, the whole viewpoint of me going through all of this has made me into I think, a little bit of a better person, someone who's more patient, who's more calm, who's less sporadic, who's more focused and more organized and more detailed and more planned. And that's kind of how I like to approach other aspects of my life.
Yeah, and there's a trader who once said that if you really want to know yourself and the kind of person that you are with yourself and around others, you should become a trader, because the market
Yeah.
is a way to, show you who you really are.
Boom. Yep. That is a very good quote. And you're absolutely correct. I mean, trading will bring out all of your demons, all of your skills. It's impulsive. It's right at your fingertips. It gives you all of the ability to make as much money as you want in seconds, or lose as much money as you don't want in seconds. It gives you the ability
Yeah,
to do either one.
yeah,
And yeah, you're absolutely correct.
and
It is a
and
force to be reckoned with.
it tames your ego. It forces you to kill your ego, which is a big, thing in
It
most.
does.
Yeah. So maybe as we conclude, you can tell us, besides your book, uh, for people who are looking to trade, whether it be stocks, forex, any kind of assets, what one book would you highly recommend? And also, where can people go to find your work? And if they wish to join your trading room, what should they do?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that, Sylvia. So I'll answer the book one first, because that's a that's a great question. I love reading books, and I'm trying to think of. I don't want to give a normal answer, because the cliche answer would be like Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. And I think it's a great book. I'm going to write a better one day, but I think the greatest book that you probably will read or listen to, because it's also on Audible, for a trader, because remember, we trade money. And a lot of people forget that, right? You have to study your brain and how your brain is wired towards money. You really got to dig into that relationship. At some point, it will help you existentially with your trading. And with that being said, I would say Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is a wonderful book to either read or listen to on Audible, like the voice recording. One of those two, I would say. So either Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill or Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. Both of those are great books. If you haven't read them, I would suggest it. I would suggest checking out my book, because it is focused a lot on money and the mindset of money. And for anyone who wants to join my room, I actually have a what's called an open house. So next week, so right now when we're doing this particular recording, it's the 16th of July. So July 22nd through July 26th, which is next week, my room is open to everyone in the entire world. And I only do it twice a year. So the next time will literally be in 2020. So it'll be a year, 7 months from now. So if you want to join, just go to reallifetrading.com. And the very front page of the website, you'll see a link. If you scroll down like an inch, it'll say trading room free week open house, July 22nd to the 26th. Click here. Just click there. Give me your name and email, and I'll see you in about 5 days. And we'll be trading together all week next week. So anyone is more than welcome to just join, show up, be a part of the team and the community, and let's enrich some lives together.
Oh, that's good. And that's a good initiative. It's free of charge, nothing like no cost.
Nope, it's entirely free.
Okay. Okay. That's a way of giving back to the community. I love that.
Oh, thank you.
And I totally appreciate your time. You'll give me a link to your book. Is it on Amazon?
It is. Yep, it is on Amazon, and I know that we're on Skype right now, so I will send you a link via Skype. But yep, it's on Amazon. If you type in Money Grows on Trees, or if you type in, my name, Jerremy Newsome, that will be the book that comes up.
Okay. And do you normally do anything on social media or any where people can reach
Yeah,
out
that's a
freely?
great question. That's a great question. I do post a lot on Twitter. So I'm on Twitter at Newsome Nuggets. So NEWSOME Nuggets NUGGETS. I'm on Stock Twits. So I do Twitter. I do Stock Twits. I do Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, YouTube. Anywhere where most people are at, I'm there.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. I look forward to speaking with you again in the future. And I think I'm gonna join in your live room next week and see what
Yes.
you normally do.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I would love to trade with you. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. I'll
Well,
let you go
Sylvia,
now.
thank you so much.
Have a good day. Make money, you know, all that good stuff.
Yes, I will indeed. Thank you so very much. I appreciate those kind words.
Okay. Cheers. Bye.
All right, cheers. Bye.